Hannah,
Yes.
did you guys have my little PowerPoint, or were we gonna do a share screen?
Oh, this is a great question. I do not have your PowerPoint. Do you have your PowerPoint, Linda?
Yeah. Do you want me to try and email it to you, or I sent it to?
Would you like to share your screen, or would you like us to share the screen for you?
I honestly don't know how to do that.
Okay.
So maybe
I love it. At least I'm not the only one. Come on, Linda.
We're still learning. We're all still learning. Okay, so
it's too scary to even try, Linda. Let them do it. Trust me.
Yeah.
okay. So
Hannah, I'm sending it to you right now.
if that's the case, would I just tell you when to do next slide? It was really quick.
Just say next slide, please, and I will advance the slide for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome.
Buenas tardes, Anabel Márquez.
Hola, Annabelle.
Hi, we have
says good afternoon.
We have Fermin on the line. I don't know if you see him. He's under Annabelle too, but he's using Annabelle. I don't know if he's using an equipment from Annabelle, but it's Fermin. Fermin. I don't know if you can rename him.
Yes, so he's actually able to. It was his wife's tablet, and we've been able to get him into interpreting now.
Great job, Maddie. Thanks for your help.
No problem. Thank you.
Great job, Maddie.
So he's in there.
Okay, I will do my thing now, Kim.
I already gave you host 3 minutes ago.
Folks, for those of you, folks, for those of you who are joining and asking yourself what is happening on this line in this meeting, we are about to get started. We're just troubleshooting some Spanish channel translations, and thank you for your patience. We're going to go ahead and start in just a moment. So Mari, are we all set with the translation while we're able to figure it out?
Just need to change Fermin, rename him, I believe.
Yes. It's the one with the big A. We can rename that to Fermin Marquez.
Okay, perfect.
And then we'll, Hannah, we're still going to go through the other slide, correct? In just a moment when we're ready to start.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like we are ready to start, right?
Okay. Yeah, so we can, if you want to switch that slide. Sounds like we already did this, but we'll go ahead and address it one more time in case we have anybody else. Hola, muy buenas tardes. Soy Marisela del Distrito del Aire. En caso de que todavía tenga problemas en entrar a la interpretación, aquí le vamos a mostrar cómo hacerlos. Lo puede ver en la pantalla. De que si usted quiere escuchar la junta o la reunión en interpretación, tiene que escoger el logotipo que dice Interpretation, o se mira como un globo. Y luego va a seleccionar el idioma español. Y luego va a también silenciar audio original. Y dice Mute Original Audio. Aparte de eso, si tiene algún problema y necesita que entrar a una llamada telefónica, por alguna razón se desconecta de Zoom, puede llamar al número de teléfono 888-431-3632 y el código de acceso es el 88-72-455 y luego el signo de número. Y si tiene alguna pregunta, se puede comunicar a cualquiera de nosotros. Gracias.
Great. Thank you so much, Marisela. And good evening, everyone. My name is Hannah Stolmakovich. I am with the Institute for Local Government, and welcome to the Chapter Steering Committee meeting. Today, my colleagues are Kim and Erica, and they're going to be helping me behind the scene, including troubleshooting any Zoom challenges we might or may not have. Hopefully not much Zoom challenges. And as always, Institute for Local Government is here to facilitate these conversations and to offer neutral guidance and capture community voices, perspectives, and priorities as we continue to move forward with implementing community emission reduction plan for Chapter. So what you see on your screens right now is one more time translation options slide. There's 2 ways to join this meeting. If you would like to be in the Spanish channel, you can either use your interpretation globe on the bottom of your screen and switch to Spanish audio, or you have a designated number to call in and type the participant code so you can hear the Spanish interpretation on your phone instead of your computer screen audio. Mari, I'm going to circle to you one more time to make sure all our Spanish participants are set in their Espanol channel.
Okay. Que nomás quería preguntar, ¿necesita alguien ayuda para poder entrar al canal de interpretación antes de proceder? No se escucha nada, entonces yo creo que todo está bien. We are perfect and good to go.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, so what are we doing tonight? Tonight, as always, we have a very busy agenda. We're gonna start with the standing updates, air monitoring committee update, school filtration and bus subcommittee update, and we're gonna hear brief updates from CARB and Department of Pesticide Regulations. We will then hear from the City of Shafter about potential public works projects and opportunities to partner with the City of Shafter to implement some of the Serp measures. We will then discuss and review the timeframe for outreach and implementation of the low dust harvesting equipment and alternatives to agricultural burning measures. And then we will wrap up this meeting, but briefly hearing from the Air District about annual enforcement report progress. Each month, as always, we incorporate agenda items that are important to this committee and bring experts and partners and agencies to this meeting based on your suggestions. And as always, we welcome your feedback and suggestions on the future agenda meeting, because it's the process where we're all together working to refine this process and make it better and ensure that the process truly serves this committee. Okay, this is not our first Zoom meetings, but it's open to public, and we would like to review Zoom meeting etiquettes. So not only you know what types of Zoom controls we're using in this meeting, but also how are we running this meeting via Zoom. I'm gonna pass it to my colleague, Kim.
Hi, everybody. I think we are pretty familiar with Zoom at this point, but it's always good to have a refresher. If you see your naming convention has changed, we like to denote the CSC members and residents at the front part of their name so that we can sort better when we're doing the stipend process. If you're from another organization here, we will put that at the latter part of your name. Please stay on mute during the meeting. If you have a question, you can raise your blue hand or drop a chat or question into the chat box. We love to see that activity. The chat transcripts include all the private chats as well. So just a reminder to be respectful when you're in the chat, and I will be here behind the scenes all meeting. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me for help or troubleshooting advice.
Great, thank you, Kim, so much. As always, these meetings are always open to public, and we're grateful for public to joining us meetings and your participation. You can participate via several avenues. You can participate on the Facebook by watching this meeting live and submitting your questions and comments on the Facebook. If you're here with us on Zoom, please use the chat box to submit your comments. Some of the comments may or may not be addressed during the meeting. However, towards the end, we're going to have a designated public comment period where we welcome you to raise your hand, unmute yourself, and ask your questions, submit your comments. This is how we're going to proceed. And as Kim already mentioned, please go ahead and rename yourself. It's very important for our stipends track. And just a reminder to the residents who are participating in the stipend program, to be eligible, you have to be present for at least 75% of the meeting. Okay, I think we are done with our housekeeping items for tonight. I'm gonna pass it to Ryan for his welcome, and then we're gonna pass it to our very special co-host tonight, Linda Martin, who's gonna do her welcome and share a little presentation with you all. Ryan?
Yes, good evening, everyone. So nice to see everybody. The final meeting of 2020. It's been an eventful year, to say the least, and definitely looking forward to 2021 and all the things that the new year will bring. Hopefully some good news for all of us. just looking forward to continuing to implement the Serp. I think we have some good updates for you on ways that we're going to be able to start spending the incentive money on the various measures that the community worked so hard to put together. We have some good updates and looking forward to hearing from the city of Shafter on some of the efforts maybe that we can look to use some of that funding to make improvements in the city of Shafter. And just very thankful for all the other partner agencies that have agreed to share updates with us tonight. And with that, I will, like Hannah mentioned, we have a great co-host in Linda Martin, and I look forward to her sharing with us. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Linda. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Linda Martin. Welcome to the steering committee meeting for December 2020. I am a community steering member as a resident. I have lived in Shafter for 12 years. I'm a member of a few of the services clubs here in Shafter, as well as some associations in Kern County. Having grown up in a very large city, I am happy to be a resident of Shafter. There's a strong sense of community here. It's about neighbor helping neighbor, and it's a place where you can make a positive difference. I'm really thankful for this opportunity to serve on this committee for 6170, and I hope that it helps to bring residents and industry together for a cleaner environment, bringing businesses, ag, and schools some funding that this community might not have been able to afford otherwise, and it is giving them a little boost to do the right thing, because I know they want to do the right thing. I had some items on a slideshow that Hannah was going to share, and I guess as we're waiting for that to come up, I just wanted to thank all the work that this committee and Valier has done on getting our school buses cleaner energy ones. We've got the school filtration systems going to all of our classroom. That's been wonderful. And also the incentives going forward with low dust net harvesters to some of our neighboring ag community. Hannah, do you think it won't work?
I can probably. Do you want me to try and do it, Hannah? I can do it.
Yeah, that would be great. It didn't come through my email. So Jamie is gonna share her screen for the several slides that Linda put together. And Linda, just feel free to say next slide, please, and we will advance your slides. Voila.
And I do apologize for my remedial looking PowerPoint. I actually am just fresh out of knee surgery. So next slide.
Ours are great, Linda, very vibrant.
So I was really excited at the opportunity that we could possibly put some sidewalks in on the reduction of PM 2.5. This is an image of Highway 43 north of West Tulare, and you can see they don't have any sidewalks, curb or gutter. And I often see a lot of people walking to town this way. And I had hoped that this could be an opportunity to have sidewalks and maybe some urban greening, because as you can see, a lot of these homes are right by a 4-lane highway. Their doors are there, their air conditioning units, and if there's a way to help out so that they can have cleaner air, I think that would be a wonderful thing. Next slide. We had also talked about a lot of the car pollution that happens. Scott from CARB has been a great help in trying to get us to get the trains to move a little bit so we can alleviate some of the congestion. This is a picture at Highway 43 Central Los Angeles, and where Beach comes together. We had mentioned talking about a possible roundabout in this area to keep traffic moving. And we were looking to maybe see if the 617 money could help fund that. Next slide, please. Another opportunity was the urban greening, going to the parks and schools. On the left, you can see Veterans Park. This is a highly used park for residents in Shafter. If you drive by in the evening, lots of families are using this to exercise. And before COVID, there was soccer practice, football practice. It's a very well-used park, and I thought that maybe we could have trees put in here to provide some of the shade for the spectators, as it does get very hot here in the valley in the summer. In the middle is the Richland School District. To the top is where children are outside in the playing for recess. So it might be nice to have them or get them some shade as well with some trees. And then off to the right is Grimway Academy. That's our newer school. And again, trees would be a really great asset. Yeah, I know we had talked about water. Most all of these do have existing sprinkler systems. So I thought maybe it would be a great place to put some trees. Nice. Next slide, please. We had talked about the ag barriers along with the urban greening. This is a great example of what a farmer had done to the north of Lerdo Highway to protect some of the dust moving forward. So there's an area, some of the residents that I know that live off of Beach and State, and they had made mention that sometimes they get some of the drift and some of the dirt into their homes. And so I thought maybe if there was extra funding to help out that farmer to maybe put in an ag area, that would be nice for the residents over there. Next slide, please. And that's it. I know that there was another item brought up about a possible bike path. I think it would be a really great asset to this city if we could get a bike path. We have a new rec center going into the south of Lerdo. A lot of the children in the area get themselves to practice. You do see a lot of people out exercising in Shafter. So if there is a possibility for a bike path, you know, it helps reduce people using cars. And I just think it would be another wonderful thing. But I once again wanted to thank CARB, Valley Air, the Shafter City Council, and city staff for all that they do working in our community and being so accessible. I'm really excited to hear from our public work director in the rest of the meeting to see what other projects might be coming to Shafter. So I will turn it back over to you, and thank you for hearing my little spiel.
Linda, thank you so much for sharing some of the suggestions. And I cannot believe that after the surgery, that is what you're thinking about. Where the urban greening locations and parks should be. Where can we improve sidewalks, traffic flow, all that. This is just amazing. And I see Jamie is applauding. Gus has been sending you virtual applauses as well. And you're definitely queuing us up for the agenda item that is coming up in a while, where how can we collaborate with the city of Shafter, and what are some potential projects that can really benefit this community. But before we jump into that, let's hear our standing updates per committee's request. We're sharing those updates at the beginning, and we will hear from the Air District on Community Air Monitoring Plan update, followed by School Filtration and Bus Subcommittee update. And then we will hear from the Department of Pesticide Regulations. I believe Min is on the line, and from Scott from CARB. I'm gonna pass it to Chai.
All right, thanks, Hannah. Good evening, everyone. Good to see everybody here. I hope you are all doing well. So there's been quite a bit of stuff that we're still continuing to do for air monitoring. For example, like the van, we're still continuing to use that for monitoring in various locations. We're continuing to work with Richland School District to install the electrical infrastructure, working with the contractors, finding the appropriate locations, and getting all that set up at Sequoia Elementary and also at Golden Oak Elementary. It's getting close, so we hope to get that out soon. And also working with Shafter Labor Camp and the electrical contractors, getting quotes in on those to install the electrical infrastructure there so that we can deploy our air monitoring trailer in that location. And that's also going. So hopefully we'll get that up soon. In addition to that, as mentioned last time, there was some request to monitor ammonia. So on November 4th, we did some ammonia sampling at the DMV, and also some mobile ammonia monitoring at the site west of Shafter nearby the dairies on that. And so we got the results back, and for all of those, it's less than non-detect, basically, based on our canister sampling on that. And that less than non-detect is right around like 0.6 to 0.4 ppm as far as ammonia, for ammonia. And so that includes both for Shafter DMV and also for the dairies. Anything lower than that, we would have to look at different types of monitoring equipment to go any lower than that, those concentration levels. So even though it's the detect's at 0.6 and we're less than that detection level, so it could possibly be even lower than that. So we will continue to do the ammonia monitoring through those sampling canisters at DMV as we go forward here, just to see, you know, throughout the months and the seasons, just to see if we're seeing any changes in that. And in addition to that, we are also putting together an interactive air monitoring map for the van, so that you can navigate through it, see all the locations where we perform the monitoring, click on that, and get the van monitoring data for those locations. And one more item in addition to that part of it, as far as air monitoring data, is we are in the process of integrating the air monitoring, the community air monitors with our regulatory monitors in our RAN system, so that our RAN system not only uses the regulatory monitors, but it will also take into consideration all the community monitors that we are putting up. That one's going to be taking a little bit more time because there's a lot of complexities involved in integrating that into our existing system. But that is in the process, and we've been working on that part of it, and I'll give you more update as we progress through that one. That concludes my update, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Great, thank you, Chai. It seems like a lot of wheels are in motion, including installing electrical infrastructure at several locations, ammonia sampling, and interactive community air monitoring map that everyone can access online. And I think it sounds really exciting. If you have any questions or comments, thoughts, please raise your blue hand or type your comments in the chat box. I see a hand from Gaz. Gaz, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Good evening to everyone. Gustavo Guida Jr. with CCJN, a steering committee member in the community of Shafter. Thank you for the update, Jay. On the ammonia sampling, can you just, because we've been interested in doing a little bit of that kind of monitoring, but have found just slightly difficult with the instruments and the kind of analysis that is needed. Can you just shed simply a little bit of light on how you guys are approaching that, and like what locations you guys might be interested in?
Yeah, so so there was a request as far as location, and that is on the east, on the west side, nearby. That's one of the sites. If you look in our air monitoring plan, that was, you know, how we labeled them A, B, C, D, and so forth. So that was one of the locations that the committee had wanted us to do van monitoring at. And so it was at that location that we did the sampling collection on November 4th. So basically, we're using the same canisters that we use for the VOC speciation collection. So we did that for a day on November 4th at that location. And we thought, you know, since we're already doing VOC speciation at the Shafter DMV site, we're going to go ahead and also have those analyzed for ammonia, and also that way we can kind of get a comparison to see if there's any differences in the background ammonia concentrations between the two locations. But so far, the results of it from the laboratory is showing a non-detect below about 0.6 ppm.
And the instruments you guys are using are the Suma canisters?
Yeah, it's the canisters that we're utilizing for the VOC speciation.
Right on, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Gus. I'm going to circle to our Spanish-speaking participants to see if they have any questions for Chai.
I believe we don't have any questions on the Spanish line.
Great. Thank you, Emilia. I see no other hand raised in the participant.
Yo tengo una pregunta.
Sí, proceda, Anabel.
¿Cuántos, en total, cuántos monitores son los que están detectando la contaminación?
Anabel would like to know in total how many monitors are placed that are detecting the contamination that is going on.
Well, okay, so as far as just the total number of monitors, so we have 2 that we are still, actually 3. One, the trailer that's still in the works that we're looking to install. We have what we call a multi-pollutant air monitoring unit. That one's going to be being installed at Sequoia Elementary, and then we have another one so there's 3 of those at the schools. And as far as what we already have some of the units installed at Shafter DMV for our PM10 and PM25. And then we also have that at another school. And let's see. I believe that's all of the air monitoring sites that we have.
¿Podría dar los lugares para mirarlos? No es desconfianza, simplemente queremos saber dónde están colocados.
¿Gustaría una lista que se la manden ahorita o después de la junta, Anabel?
Cuando tenga tiempo, cuando pueda, está bien.
Okay, very well. So Annabelle would just like to know if maybe we could give her a list of the locations. I asked her if she wanted the list right now or if she wanted it later. And she had mentioned that whenever it's more convenient for you, and also to mention that it's not because she doesn't have trust in what you are saying, but she would just like to see it for herself.
Yeah, so on that, I mean, we have all that information available on our website as well. But if you want specific locations, and we can give you like a map of that. And again, that's also on our website as well, on the specific locations of all those monitors, what they measure, what we have been measuring so far. And that's also in the weekly reports that are being sent out. That will show all of the monitors we have at the DMV, at Grimway Academy, at Golden Oak Elementary, Sequoia Elementary, the Shafter Farm Labor Camp within the Mexican colony area. And then also there's a lot of other locations that we are also monitoring with our van. And those are all, again, on our website. Now, I don't know as far as reaching out to her. I mean, I can reach out to her directly and kind of show her where those are and where the information is if she would like that.
Thanks, Chai. I think what would be helpful, the website that you mentioned, if it's not too much trouble, can you drop those links in the chat? Because, you know, the website, there's a lot of information, so it's easier to find what you're sharing, and perhaps following up with Annabelle to see if this information is enough, and if there's any other ways she would like to receive this information. Maybe just the bullet point list is helpful. So yeah, just maybe.
And we will also start mailing the weekly Spanish reports out before every meeting. So we'll we'll hard copy mail those out. And Chai, if you can make sure if you put those links in the chat, when you put those links in the chat, make sure you're just linking to the Spanish documents.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
All right. Okay, we'll do that.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Chai Gaza. And I see your comments that yes, communication is very important. And the goal is here to understand what is the best way to communicate with the committee, if it's a bullet point list or links to the map. So yeah, let's keep working on this and let their district know what's the best way to receive the information. Bianca, I see your hand up. Do you have a quick question, comment for Chai?
Yes, I do. I brought it up previously in different meetings. But my question is, for like the mobile monitoring that you do you still do it at business hours, or do you do it after hours, late afternoons? It was a lingering questions that I had before, but I don't know if there's any changes that have happened. I'm also thinking like for the Mexican colony that seasons are coming up, and it would be nice to know what's happening in the evenings, because I've had heard concerns, especially from residents around there. And I was just wondering, how many times have you gone to the Mexican colony during the week, and is it in the afternoons?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So, last time there was that concern. So we are starting to mix in the afternoon in there, or evening time as well, to make sure that we capture that. And it's there's a lot of locations, so we're trying to kind of get a good mix of the various locations in there, including Mexican colony. And as based upon the van data that you can see on our website, that we do have quite a bit of Mexican colony, the Mexican colony location for the van monitoring. And right now we are looking for, and if you guys have any locations that you think we can monitor at, we're hoping to do some overnight monitoring where we can put the van there and have a longer time period. Because so far what we've been doing is more of, because of the location and finding a safe location to monitor the van, it has been just when staff goes over there, they'll park there, they'll wait there, and they'll just do the monitoring, and then they'll drive off after that. But if you have any good locations, I know Gustavo, we've talked a little bit about that. If you guys know of any good locations that we can park the van and do some overnight monitoring, that would be really, really good for us to be able to do.
We actually have residents in the Mexican colony, and to be honest, we were hoping to get like very late evenings readings. So I don't know if you want to shoot me an email. I'll drop in my email, and I'll connect you with some folks in the Mexican colony. I know that they do want something permanent in that area, especially because of how they're so excluded away from the Shafter community. But there's locations to leave monitors for overnight readings too.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. I'll touch base with you, and we can explore some of the locations and start doing some overnight. And I think that's going to be the best way to do it, is just to leave it overnight, and that way we have a more complete analysis and monitoring.
Great. Excellent clarifying questions. Annabelle, thank you for bringing up the list of the locations. Definitely will work. The Air District will work as moving forward. If website links is hard to navigate, how else can this information can be presented so it's easily accessible to the community, to the GOS point. And if you can think about additional locations for overnight monitoring, please use the chat box and let the Air District know. Okay, I'm gonna keep us moving along the agenda. This is our standing agenda item. We'll circle back on this agenda item in the next meeting, but there's agenda items that we're just starting today, later on. So let's keep moving. Let's pass it to Jamie to update us on school filtration and bus subcommittee.
Hi, everyone. Just very quickly, we've been talking to a variety of schools throughout the valley, actually, and are very close to being able to open up the application period for the school filtration program. One of the things that we've been researching lately has to do with some of the the action at the state government with regard to school filtration. And then also a lot of schools are looking to not only have filtration systems that can remove pollutants like PM and ozone from the air, but they're now looking at removing bacteria and viruses from the air. This is a response to COVID. And so we are actually having discussions with some of the CARB staff on the grant side about what kind of equipment is going to be able to do the work of both, and looking to see if we can make sure that schools are getting whatever they need with regard to filtration, both as they can both get the air pollutants that we're currently talking about, and then also get some of these microbials that you know, the bacteria and viruses that we just think would be a smart thing to do. So because of that kind of new element that's been brought into it, we've gone a little bit more back to a little bit more research, but we do have a team that is actively working on it. And I'm hoping that by the next time we meet, we'll have a application process up and running, and we'll be reaching out to the school districts again to get them signed up for it. One of the other big things that we're finding is that the schools are really interested in these standalone units that go in classrooms. The other thing I want to mention with the school buses, we continue to work with Richland School District. Like I said, they, I believe, have already ordered a couple of electric school buses, and we're looking at seeing if there's not a possibility of getting them to order more. So more is to come. I'm sorry I don't have more of an update for you, but that new little element on the school filtration system has just put us back in a little bit of a research mode. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Raise your blue hand if you have any questions, and I'm gonna pass it to Ryan, who I think has something to add. And you're on mute, Ryan.
I took my hand down, but I didn't unmute myself. Thanks, Jamie. The only other thing I'd like to add on the school filtration, since that is a brand new program for the district, before we're able to start that program, it is something that we will have to take to our board for approval. It's an administrative step, but it's one that will need to be done. We're just trying to do that background research that Jamie's talking about, and so that we're fully prepared in order to take that to our board. So.
Thank you, Ryan. Let me maybe start with the questions to see if there's any questions or comments on the Spanish channel.
No.
It doesn't sound like we have any
Ahorita no.
questions on the phone conference, but I don't know about through Zoom.
Thanks, Emilia. Annabelle, do you have a question or a comment? I see that you unmuted yourself.
No, en esto estoy bien, entendiendo bastante bien.
She lets us know that no, in these moments, she's being able to understand very well.
Excellent. I see no other hands in the chat box or participant list, so we're gonna keep moving along and circle.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yes.
Does the filtration it's only for schools? It doesn't pertain for residents at this point, Jamie, or
At this point, it's only for schools.
And how about for the 0 to 5? Have you been able to reach see if they were able to include the 0 to 5?
Right now, it does not include 0 to 5. It's just K through 12.
Okay.
Thanks, Bianca. If you can think of any other questions, Jamie's on the line. Drop your questions in the chat box. Okay, we're gonna circle to Department of Pesticide Regulations, and I think Min is on the line to share some updates.
You get an upgrade. This is actually Nan Singhasamanan. I'm the assistant director at DPR. Min couldn't make it tonight, but I'm here, so there you go. Happy to see everybody again. I'm actually starting to kind of look forward to these kind of meetings, just to hear everybody's voice and hear the discussion, whether it's pesticide related or not. It's good to see community engagement, and like I said, I'm actually looking forward to these kind of calls. With that said, I just have a couple of a few things to update you guys on. And I mean, for one, just to let you guys know that we're picking up a bit more engagement on AB 617 communities besides yours. I think they're looking to chapter and say, oh, chapter's done all this, having these conversations on pesticide, has all these elements in their SERP. How can we get in on that, or how can we get more involved? So I think you guys are kind of, I don't know, setting an example, if I can frame it that way, to the other communities in terms of engagement, at least with DPR. I think we're trying to make ends meet right now to try to be able to kind of talk and work with everybody and assist the other communities as well. But since you guys have been, we've been engaged with you folks for a while now, we'll continue to be here at the table, whether it's me, Min, or Edgar, or somebody else, or Val at times when he needs. With that said, I think the key update would be I think I've briefed you folks on our mitigation pilot project on 1,3-D or T-loan. And this is something that's been, in the works for a long time. Talked about it in various forums here, at our pesticide registration evaluation committee at DPR in Sacramento, and talked about a scientific review panel. But we finally kicked off our first monitoring study, and it happens to be near Shafter, actually just north of Shafter at the UC Research Station. And we're looking at one of the alternative application that would reduce emissions. Application took place, I believe, the very last day of November. So just after Thanksgiving, I had a large team come out to Shafter area to monitor a relatively small application. It's pretty small, it's about 1.5 acres. But I think it was a good start because, with the smaller field, we're able to kind of train our newer folks and be able to kind of make sure we have the monitoring under control. So we had about a dozen folks rotate through within over a 10-day period. Certainly, I think it was pretty intensive in the beginning where we had folks rotate in about once every 6 hours. So that went on for the first 3 days. So 72 hours, 6 hours interval. So about 12 times we had folks, going out in the middle of the night, morning, middle of the day, whatever. And then the last 4 days, I think we shortened the sampling interval just around the field to every 12 hours. So it's pretty intensive, but that's how our studies are done. And you guys are probably thinking about, well, what about the results? And the plan for with our on this project is that we're going to be looking at the data. We don't have the data yet. We just sample. So eventually, we're going to be evaluating data and put together reports for the individual monitoring studies. So this one for the first field in your chapter probably be out around February, and I'll be sure to share that with you guys on an update around that time, so you guys have an idea of what the numbers we're looking at. And in subsequent studies, whether it's around chapter or not, we'll probably share that with you too, just for transparency and to keep you guys informed. Let me see. The other item that was of interest is on last Friday, we had DPR had its pesticide registration evaluation committee meeting. And we made 2 presentations, one of them on the 1,3-D mitigation pilot. And it contains some of the information and site details on Shafter. It is a public meeting, so the information that we provided there, I'll be able to share with you folks. So I'm probably going to work with Ryan to get the PowerPoint to you to share, so you guys can actually take a look. And it has some background that if you missed, I didn't really go into much of the background because I know a lot of you folks are familiar with the project. But for some newer folks, it would be a good opportunity to kind of take a look and kind of learn at your own pace about what's going on. So I'll make sure that happens. The other development has to do with every once in a while, our department, our air program specifically, does what we call the Air Monitoring Network site selection review or evaluation. This is the one that we're focusing on for 2021. I think the idea is that we've been in a state of flux ever since COVID hit. Ever since we used to have a lot more sites, but the funding for that ended. So we're trying to figure out where we would go, where we would have the monitoring stations for this next year and beyond. And the good news is Shafter is one of the 4 sites that we're looking at. So the sampling location at, I believe it's at Sequoia Elementary School, it's going to remain. So that's really important. And in case you were wondering, the other communities that made it into our continuation list was Santa Maria, Watsonville, and also we're trying to add Oxnard in Ventura County. That's something we're working to try to add. That's something that I think ARB was doing the monitoring at for the last couple of years, but we're trying to add that station. And so our staff goes through this evaluation of step by step of how we arrive at these conclusions. So again, I'll try to get this presentation to share with you guys, so you can actually see how that was done. Also, we'll be posting our 2019 Air Monitoring Network report soon, probably right around the New Year's. Now, I think you guys have already seen the data that Min has probably shared in the past, and very specific to Shafter. He was kind enough to go in and really break all that down, have staff work on that. So that's not going to be anything new, but there may be some discussion within the reports and analysis that you guys haven't really seen before. So just again, I'll make sure that the community steering committee is stays on top of that and gets the links or the files when that's released. Other than that, I think the other area that you guys are always usually interested in has to do with notification, community notification. And I've talked to you guys before about how we're looking at both, let's say having conversations with Kern County on the local notification, but we're also working towards a statewide notification. And I don't know if I have really much to share at this time about local notification, although I know that conversations is ongoing with with our exec, with Kern County. But at least for the statewide notification, we're meeting pretty regularly now regarding that. So statewide notification would be something that would be impactful for not just you guys, whether you guys have a local notification or not, but it's going to be applicable for for all the community that's around the state. And we've gotten to the point where we're meeting to talk about specifics about potential rulemaking, which again, not new news, but the meetings are more intense. There are more specifics on the elements, on timelines, on the specific reviews that has to take place, on costs, and on things like the information technology needs that needs to be addressed, and some of the steps that we have to go through, or hoops, as some people may call it, to go through to make that a reality. So I'm excited. It's actually, it's gaining a lot of steam, and but again, I'm going to be here to let you guys know on the development on that high level, on that front to you. So I know you guys are interested. And I know I rattled off a lot, so you guys may have questions. So I'll just leave it at that. I know certainly we're going to be here to keep to inform you folks. So we'll be here answering whether you have it now or down the road.
Great, thank you. Thank you for this great update. A lot of work is in progress, and looks like a lot of additional information will be sent to this committee, including PowerPoints from the meeting, links to the annual air monitoring reports, PowerPoint or some type of document that articulates how the Sequoia site has been selected. So keep an eye on all this information that's going to be coming at you for your review and knowledge. I see 2 hands in the chat box, Bianca and Gus. Bianca, I'm gonna start with you.
I'll leave it up to Gustavo, and I know he was first.
Okay.
Bianca's gonna grill me.
I like how cordial this committee is.
Yeah, I'll make it fast. This is Gus, for those on the phone, with CCJN. Thank you for that. Thank you for the update, man. Appreciate the updating on that last day of November. Really looking forward to seeing some of that information. On the notification piece, I know we, as a committee, we started off rather strong in kind of talking about this and really pushing some ideas and thoughts that the steering committee had, both on like the precautions and the benefits of doing so. My question is, like theoretically speaking, if nothing happens in Shafter locally, and the state moves forward with legislation and then does pass some kind of notification process, I've worked on various research projects with like both UC Davis and other research institutions. And from like my very elementary version of thinking of this is, when something like this happens, there needs to be some kind of study or pilot, something kind of like you said, right? Something, a pilot where we're able to kind of have a more controlled environment to do so and kind of look at whether this would work or not. If so, moving forward, like would Shafter now attempt this? Would that be like the appropriate move forward to then when a statewide policy does get passed, they have Shafter as a they try to, Glenn and the department, the growers and them, and then the residents all came together, gave it a shot and said like, this is what we can do, right? And then say when something statewide happens, there is this falling back and saying, okay, well, this is what we learned from here, instead of wasting another year
Exactly.
doing another pilot that could have already happened in the shop.
Yeah, that's the hope, that's the plan. But I think for my department, obviously our ability to develop the kind of a statewide notification system is more within our hands. Obviously, like I said earlier, we're talking to Glenn, we're talking to him about what we can do locally. That conversation is still continuing. It's not dead by any means. So, but I think the idea is that we definitely want to learn from, if we can get a local notification going in Shafter, we want to definitely learn from that to inform our work for the rest of the state. Again, you guys are, like I mentioned earlier, you guys are kind of like the example, and folks are looking toward Shafter to ask the tough questions, to discuss what the needs are, and to try to make that happen, right? So there could be some kind of overlapping similarities between, if there's a local notification that can happen to a statewide one that would be developed. I've been told from my higher ups that there's a lot of interest in notification. Goes very, very, very high up in the state. I'm not going to name names, but you can imagine how what that means. There's a lot of interest for community right to know sort of notification to happen. So yeah, that's exactly, you're exactly right. That's we like to be able to learn from experience in Shafter, whatever it ends up being. So.
Yeah, no, and again, I know Glenn is here on the call. I see his name, but like this is like, I can see this as like a beneficial thing. Like I know it's gonna be difficult. Like it was difficult to get smog every other year for your car, right? Like that's something that changed, right? That we all had to kind of modify to. But like I think if we take a like honest approach of like, if we try to make something happen now in Shafter, will it be better for farmers at the statewide level later on, right? Rather than shoving down some policy down all the farmers in Coachella and Watsonville, Oxnard here, right? So I mean, again, that's just something that I want to put out in the ethersphere.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, guys. Excellent point. And sometimes we wonder in this process, what is the impact? And hearing tonight that some of the communities are taking notice of how Shafter is working with the Department of Pesticides regulations and asking how can we do similar or the same, or what lessons have already been learned and how can we use these lessons is definitely a positive sign of progress. Bianca, do you still have your question?
Yeah, I have quite a few. I'm sorry. That's
Okay,
why.
well, if in the interest of time, if you don't mind being brief so we can stay on the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, so I do have a question. The monitor that there is in Sequoia, is it right now still reading T-Lone at the moment? Or are you gonna jump up their monitoring as a 32 pesticides as regularly you were doing before?
Yeah, I think we mentioned before that, because of COVID, we reduced some of our monitoring capacity in terms of number of pesticides. However, the one constant has been 1,3-D. We've always stuck with doing the T-loan measurement. That was high priority for the department. Val demanded that. We made it happen, so that's still there. With that being said, we're trying to push back our air monitoring network for monitoring again to what was before, which meant 31 pesticides and 5 degradants. So that's the goal. I think we're fine on to achieving that. It's been tricky for us to kind of deal with the budget situation with the changes to the state budget and our departmental budget because of COVID. And I think you guys are well aware of that sort of issue. It's impacting a lot of departments, not just ours. But I think based on the resource that we have right now, we can make that happen.
So there's no changes that could happen maybe in the near future for the upcoming year? Do you have
I mentioned to you guys before that, we're always exploring means to possibly get more funding, right? To expand. That's something that we're always looking forward to. So perhaps we're able to tap into something greater. There's, again, lots of conversations going on. My days are often preoccupied with a lot of conversations about air monitoring with various folks. So if that happens, and there potentially could be an increase in number of sites, air monitoring sites. These are the conversations we're continuing to have. But that's certainly, I'm just saying that's a possibility, but I'm not promising anything. We certainly are not looking to cut the sites. I mean, they went down from 8 sites statewide to 3 at this point, right? So.
Okay. And I do have another one.
Sure.
For like the notification, I know that you were mentioning that they're looking to be as a statewide notification. My question, I don't know if it's maybe towards the Ag Commission or towards you two, but I know that there's a grower to grower in place at the moment for the county. Is DPR looking into kind of the same structure that is happening as in Kern County, the grower to grower, or notice of intent on restricted materials? Or are they looking for something different, or they want input from community members? It's kind of a lot of questions bottled in one, but what is your thought on the notification? Do you need kind of like a draft on what residents want to see in their community as a notification, or is just statewide in general want to do their own way of notification?
Well, I think on the local notification front, I mean, at least the time that I've been involved in this group, I've heard a lot from the community, and obviously it went before my involvement. You guys have said plenty to Val, to the folks before me, and I'm sure to Glenn, talking to specifically Glenn about what you guys want to see. Obviously, there is a local grower to grower notification, and maybe if Glenn's still on, he wants to touch more on that, he can. But we're well aware of the elements in terms of like existing notification, what you guys are interested in, what the county has offered historically. I don't want to drag all that stuff up because it can get kind of contentious. But the conversations on the local communication, I'll be honest with you, is happening a little bit just above my level. So I'm gonna let those kind of conversations play themselves out a little bit more before I can report back to you on that. But I do know that they're still having conversations that level at local communication. We're not walking away from that. That's still definitely on the table. If you ask Val, he's he'll definitely say that. So does that kind of answer your question, Bianca? Sorry. It's late in the day.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Bianca. And if you have more questions, please feel to drop it in the chat box. I do want to circle to Annabelle. I see your hand, and then double check if we have any additional questions on the Spanish line, and then we're going to move on our agenda. Annabelle?
Sí, yo no sé si observo de más o qué pasa, pero siento que el señor que acaba de hablar ahorita está un poco como inseguro, nervioso o no sé, su forma de hablar, pero se van basando en teorías, en experimentos, pasando el tiempo y pues aquí la gente se sigue enfermando y muriendo mucho de cáncer y todo. Como dijo Gustavo, una acción piloto sería algo beneficioso para mitigar un poquito aquí en la ciudad de Shafter. Es una pregunta.
Okay, so Annabelle is just letting us know that she's not very sure if it's just her, if she's over observant, but the man that just spoke, I believe it's none, just seems a little bit insecure. I don't know if maybe that's how he speaks, but we've been going off based on theories and people just keep dying. And I believe, like Gus mentioned, do you believe that a pilot action would be good in this case?
Thanks, Annabelle, for this question. You know, Zoom calls, they present us a little bit different than what we're in person, but very valid perspective. And see if none has any comments about monitoring study.
Well, I mean, just to be clear, and this is for Annabelle, it's like if it came off as being insecure, it's not so much insecure because I think it's more that I'm not really sure how to answer the question a certain way. There's still a lot of conversations being had, a lot of decisions yet to be made. So I'm trying to be careful about how I say what I say. So if it comes off as insecure, I apologize. But I'm trying to be as honest as much as I can be, and try to be helpful to you guys. I didn't catch the rest of the question on is it monitoring, Anna?
I'm sorry, what?
Or was it Amelia? Did you interpret?
Emilia, yeah. Emilia,
yes, I believe she was referring to what Gus from CCJN had mentioned about a pilot action or a pilot project needed.
Right, that's a pilot notification. I believe that's what we touched on, right? So yeah, I mean, I think that's the one area that I'm not as familiar with right now because of the state of conversations going on between Val and Kern County. So that's pretty much the most information I can offer right now. I'm looking forward to the time we can come in here and actually provide you more specifics on that. That's just the reality of it. So.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, the statewide notification system is a committee has interest in it. There's questions about it. You would like to know more details. It's noted. Department of Pesticide Regulations is here, and they're hearing you. I'm gonna keep us moving. I know it's an important topic, but also we have a lot of to work through today because the city of Shafter is here, and I would like to make sure we have plenty of time for those dialogues and conversations as well. And our updates from the Department of Pesticide Regulation is a standing update, so we will revisit these conversations next time. So thank you for your feedback.
Thank you.
Questions and use the chat box as always. Before I jump to the city of Shafter, Scott, I believe you have a 1 or 2 minute update from CARB.
Yes, hey, good evening, everybody. Scott Wall with the California Air Resources Board. Just for those of you who are interested, we had some big news about changes to our board last week, and I thought I would just share them with you real briefly. And I will actually post also into the chat if you'd like to dig in a little bit more. The governor's press release that details the members, but we have 3 new members replacing existing board members. One is actually Tanya Pacheco-Warner from San Joaquin. She's going to be replacing Dr. Sheriffs on the board. And the other one that I'll call out is actually Mary Nichols, who's been a little bit of an institution with the Air Resources Board, is moving on, and she is being replaced by Leanne Randolph, who's one of the current commissioners on the California Public Utilities Commission. And so some big changes to our board this year. I know that the committee got somewhat familiar with our board because of the AB 617 process, but I just wanted to point that out for those of you who might be interested. And again, I'll post a link to the governor's press release in the chat, and that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Scott. In the interest of time, I'm going to direct comments and questions for Scott in the chat box, and I'll keep this meeting moving along the agenda. Okay, so next on the agenda, we have City of Shafter, and we set time aside to talk about these projects that Linda already touched a little bit on, projects that require collaboration with the city of Shafter, projects that a city is implementing. And before we give it to the city of Shafter, let's just revisit some of the Serp measures that require the collaboration with the city of Shafter. And Jamie will introduce those measures and give you just a little reminder and overview what measures we're looking at. So you have a little bit more a memory refresh of what we're talking about here. And we can think, how can you participate more in those future projects and where your involvement can be?
Hi, everyone. Just very quickly, I want to point you to the At a Glance Serp. We tried to put together an easy to reference overview of our Serp strategies. And a big shout out to Gustavo, because this is really his idea, to have something that's a little bit easier for everyone to understand. We do have this in English and Spanish. The Spanish version was sent out to residents with the packet for this meeting. This is also on the website, but just very quickly, we're just going to talk about a handful of strategies today and how they link to what the city is doing and where that connection is going to be. I'm very quickly going to go through them. The first one on the list is truck rerouting. This is looking specifically on getting trucks off of Lerdo Highway near Golden Oak. And this was a concern of the committee and is in the Serp. Up next, we've got a car sharing program. So car sharing program is basically similar to one that's running in Wasco. It allows for electric vehicles to be parked in a public spot and plugged into charging, and then individuals can sign up to be able to rent that car for a very low cost. So whereas if you were to rent a car at one of the big car rental places, it might cost you $50 to be able to rent it. In some cases, we can get that car rental cost down to just maybe $3-5 for an hour. So if you needed to drive to Bakersfield for an appointment, or you needed to go grocery shopping or whatever it might be, you could sign up and rent the car at a much discounted cost for a few hours. Other idea that is something that is we would do in collaboration with the city. There are actually 3 here. One is bike paths, and Linda spoke about that earlier. I'm not going to repeat what she said. Encourage things that reduce the need for cars. So this is a bit more complex than the Serp, but we wanted it to be very simple. It's working with the city so that we do things, the community and the city does things that really encourage people to get out of their car, to reduce those, what we call vehicle miles traveled. And some of that is just planning accordingly so that there's ways for people to get around, sidewalks, bike paths, ways for people to get around that reduce the need for them getting out of their cars. Work with the city, county, and community on land use issues. This is a very simplified version of saying work with the city, county, community on CEQA documents. CEQA is an environmental process that projects go through when they're being planned at the city or the county. And we just want to help facilitate that so that air quality is included as something to be considered while that's happening. Got a couple more. Increase street sweeping in those areas that really need it, and then fund road improvements and sidewalks. Again, this is something that Linda was talking about and that the city already has some ideas for. So you can see the bubble Serp actually has bubble. We also call it the bubble Serp because these are little bubbles. So if I say that, it just rolls off the tongue. I joke it's almost like you order a drink. I'd like a bubble Serp, please. But this is just our little cheat sheet. So again, it is online. We've emailed or we've hard copy mailed Spanish versions out to everybody. And tonight we're just going to talk about those 7 strategies: truck rerouting, car sharing, bike paths, reduce VMT, work on land use issues, CEQA, increase street sweeping, and then road and sidewalk improvements. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Michael. I'm going to let Michael talk in a little more detail about some of the specific projects that the city's already looking at.
Thank you very much. Good evening, committee members and members of the public, and thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight. My name is Michael James. I'm the Public Works Director for the city of Shafter. I've had that position for 14 years, and I've been with the city for 22 years. Several weeks ago, I reached out to district staff to learn more about the committee's work and mission. I also wanted to discuss possible partnerships with funding and resource sharing that could help accomplish some of the local objectives of AB 617. District staff requested that I share some details about possible city projects that I have in mind that might be candidates for such partnerships. And a couple of weeks ago, I shared a profile of 4 projects that are in the works or being developed right now by city staff. One of which Linda Martin touched on. It involves street improvements in North Shafter, specifically Highway 43, adjacent to North Park and North Shafter. Public Works is currently studying the feasibility of curbs and sidewalks throughout these communities in response to some pretty legitimate concerns that residents have raised about safety and drainage. And I think one of those residents is with us tonight. That's probably the main reason why I'm here to speak on behalf of this project. Highway 43 is a pretty straightforward stretch, but the interior streets are a little more complicated due to the narrow widths of the streets, as well as the numerous obstacles that we have to work with. So for Highway 43 specifically, what I have in mind, and I would think what Ms. Martin addressed as well, is road improvements along the west side of Highway 43 adjacent to North Park and North Shafter, which would be north and south of Fresno Avenue. Within the existing right-of-way that Caltrans has, we could also accommodate road shoulders improvements. We could also accommodate bike and pedestrian facilities, as well as drainage facilities. And this would facilitate the land measure of road and sidewalk improvements, bike path construction, and upon completion of the street improvements would also enable the city to extend its street sweeping north of Tulare Avenue. We have an existing contract with Caltrans to perform street sweeping services, and I believe we perform that weekly, and we could extend that north of Tulare once these improvements along the west side of Highway 43 are complete. Ms. Martin also touched on the Roundabout project, a new roundabout intersection, specifically where Santa Fe Way and Highway 43 split. The city has already entered into an agreement with Caltrans to have them engineer the project. And so that project is valued at $1.5 million. And fortunately, the city was able to secure that amount of money in federal funds to complete the engineering of that roundabout intersection. The next phase needing funding is right-of-way acquisition and relocating utilities to accommodate the wider footprint that the roundabout would need. And as I understand it, that particular phase isn't necessarily a good match for AB 617 land measures or objectives, but I still wanted to bring it to the committee's attention to make them aware of progress that is being made to alleviate chronic traffic congestion within the city. The committee could also consider an investment in a future transit site, which is to be located at Stringham Park, which is located downtown at the intersection of James Street and Laredo Highway. We'll allow some time for them to zoom in a little bit. There's a little triangular piece of park space that yeah, there you go. Zoom in a little tighter towards Laredo Highway. You might be able to make out the park with all the trees right off the Laredo Highway there. The county regional transit system has already agreed to relocate its Shafter stop from City Hall to this park site, and has committed $50,000 to with the city to add to the city funds to develop a safe and accessible parking lot off of Laredo Highway. We will retain the recreational features at this park. We want to develop a parking lot that could facilitate the county regional stop, as well as what we're looking for potential partnership with the committee is a ridership kiosk, or potentially an electric vehicle charging station. You know, such a partnership could facilitate car sharing as well as reducing vehicle miles traveled. Finally, if we could zoom out a little bit to where, let's just start off where the roundabout intersection was, and I'll kind of guide you from there. Okay, a little bit to the east there, we can make out the correctional facility at off of Ash Avenue. A little more to the left. There you go. Zooming straight ahead to that cul-de-sac looking street, where you're right where your hand's at. If you could zoom in really tight there. Okay, perfect. Maybe a little bit, maybe zoom out a little bit and pan north a little bit towards the correctional facility. Perfect. So right when you get past the cul-de-sac, there'll be a parking lot I'm gonna touch on. Okay, perfect. Okay, there is a rather large city-owned parking lot immediately adjacent to the former correctional facility that you think you can make out there on the left. This parking lot is owned by the city. I don't believe the city has the use to maximize the parking spaces there. So we're looking to possibly partner up on a central electric vehicle charging station that could benefit vehicles operated by the city. I've heard mention of electric school buses, or even private enterprise could take advantage of this open space here. That's a fully developed parking lot. With the proper investment, it could provide secure, well-lit charging station facility, and most importantly, could facilitate car sharing as well as reducing vehicle miles traveled. Now, keep in mind the list of suggested projects, whether it's pedestrian and bike lane improvements in North Shafter, a roundabout intersection, transit parking facilities and ridership promoting, or an electric charging vehicle charging station. This list isn't suggested to be a complete list. It's just an introduction of some projects that are being considered by the city, or are in various stages of the development right now. And I think it was important for me to kind of keep this presentation fairly brief and just touch on some examples, and most importantly, open up some dialogue so we can possibly talk about other projects. But most importantly, hopefully this will be the first of many conversations that will lead to significant and meaningful projects moving forward. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Okay, so what we've heard from Michael, there's a list of potential projects that city is considering, and this list of potential projects falls into the Serp measures that this community prioritized, including car sharing programs, bike paths, reducing vehicle miles traveled by getting people out of the cars and having people to walk and bike more, and find road improvements and sidewalks. So what we're looking from the committee, some perhaps initial reactions about the projects and locations that Michael has described, and what are some additional ideas you have?
And while we're waiting on questions here, if we could maybe zoom in on the North Shafter portion of the community there. So as I touched on earlier, those interior streets you might be able to make out, such as Clawson, Sunny, English, Mare. There's a lot of interior streets that the city is actively studying the feasibility of traditional street improvements that they lack, which is curb gutter and sidewalks and street lights, things like that. It's going to be a bit of a challenge given the narrow streets and the obstacles that are within those streets. But the Highway 43 corridor, which is basically southbound 43,
Yo tengo una pregunta.
lacks
La parte donde dijo para...
Michael, I'm gonna...
Anabel, un segundo, ahorita está platicando el señor Michael. Ahorita que acabe vamos a pedir por los comentarios.
Michael, I'm gonna pause you for just a moment.
Sure.
Annabelle, would you like to ask a clarifying question, or we'll let Michael to finish his thought? Annabelle, you're on mute.
Está en modo silencio, señora Anabel.
Está bien, yo espero.
She let us know she's going to go ahead and wait.
Okay, well, I don't have very much longer. I just wanted to emphasize that the specific project that the city feels is probably the most likely to move forward. The most straightforward project would be the Highway 43 stretch, in particular between Mare and Tulare Avenue. We would specifically propose adding improved shoulders, curb gutters, and sidewalks, but also within that existing right-of-way, we would propose a bike lane. There's been some discussion about whether this would be a Class 1 or a Class 2 bike lane, but as I understand, Class 2 is a traditional bike lane that could be shared with motorists for pulling off to the side of the road or pulling into cross streets, things like that. So ultimately, I want to emphasize that this is a Caltrans right-of-way. And we've had discussions with Caltrans, and I think the residents have as well, about street improvements. And one of the main reasons why we're here, in addition to the residents' feedback, is that Caltrans has declined to invest in pedestrian improvements. But they've stated that city funds or alternative funds could be used to complete some of these objectives. So these specific improvements would extend to, as I said, from Mare to Tulare Avenue, and would provide much needed and much more secure and reliable pedestrian as well as bicycle access to the more established parts of the city where people go to school, where they shop, things like that. And with that, we can entertain questions now.
Thanks, Michael. Okay, so what's some initial questions and thoughts you have about the projects and locations and features that the city is considering? And another question for this committee, how would you like to be involved in developing these projects? What is the best way to let you know how the projects are being developed? What is the best communication? So that you have an opportunity to provide your feedback and your suggestions and ideas that benefit you and your community as city continues to develop these projects. Okay. What questions do you have for Michael?
You have 3 hands up right now.
Oh, that's totally me. I got scrolled down menu.
Sí.
Oh, there's no hands.
Le quería preguntar cuál es exactamente el punto donde iba a ser el estacionamiento de carros compartidos. donde es un área que está por la...
She wants to know exactly where is the place where they're going to have a parking station, a shared parking station.
Sí, y es estacionamiento para carros eléctricos, algo así le oí.
She mentioned that she had heard something about parking for electric cars. She wants to know where that's at exactly.
Among the
Well,
city
and
owns.
Michael,
Go ahead.
just quick,
Mhm.
is it parking for electric vehicles that anyone can park there? Or are you talking about the parking for those electric vehicles that people can share, that you can rent?
We haven't committed to either or. I mean,
And Michael, I just want to ask I think it was Annabelle who asked the question, or whoever asked the question, which one she was talking about, because that's going to dictate our answer.
Yeah, because Michael,
okay.
you mentioned two locations. You mentioned a city-owned parking lot for electric charging stations, and you also mentioned another location for a future transit site that might potentially include ridership kiosks and vehicle charging stations.
And then the third part of that would be a car share program. In the car share program, those locations have not been selected yet. And we would want to ask this committee where the best location for that car share system would be.
Okay, so Michael, will you answer Annabelle's question before we go to Bianca?
Existing park, Stringham Park. And for sure, there's going to be a parking lot, and the county regional transit system is going to utilize that stop. I haven't approached the city council about any specific electric vehicle charging operation. I think that's kind of why we're here. We're here to trade ideas, learn what we can from this process and from the expertise that's out there. But I think the footprint at the park that we're looking at here is obviously limited, but it does offer a central location with very close proximity to Laredo Highway and Highway 43. But I think it would just require a little more maybe analysis to see what a typical card sharing program footprint is. Obviously, we have there was mention of a Wasco project. So I think with it would probably be prudent to, have some discussions with some people with more knowledge on that. But I don't know, there hasn't been an identified or specific electric vehicle use planned at either the park site or the paved parking lot adjacent to the correctional facility. I think the whole point here tonight is just to let the committee, let the public know that there are some possible side options to consider. And then more than likely, we would probably have to further that discussion after tonight.
Right. Okay, so if you have initial ideas, drop it in the chat box. I see 4 hands in my participant list. I'm gonna check in with Emilia, our interpreter first, and then I'm gonna go to our co-host Linda, and then to Bianca and Gustavo. Emilia, I saw your hand up.
Yes, so I do have somebody on the conference line, and her name is Felipa Trujillo. She wanted to go ahead and ask if maybe they could consider, or if she doesn't know if they already have a project in the works for Shafter Avenue, which has little to no sidewalk from the center to the Mexican colony, because she mentioned how kids walk home from school and there is no sidewalk.
Well, I'm sure the residents of South Shafter and the Mexican colony and other communities that are unincorporated are aware that the County of Kern has secured a grant to extend the city sewer system to these communities, and that project is being engineered right now. I hope that we could start construction on that next calendar year. What we have to consider is that we want to be careful of careful about is making sure that that whatever street improvements we put in place won't be compromised by the future sewer project. So I just want, that's definitely a consideration. I will point out that the city doesn't have jurisdiction with respect to streets. It doesn't mean that we can't necessarily take the lead on, you know, in installing pedestrian improvements. And I'm sure the County of Kern, the County Roads Department would fully support our efforts to do that. But it would be more challenging in that particular area to complete those types of improvements for the reasons I just stated, which are, you know, the county jurisdiction as well as the future sewer project. But we're willing to take a look at that and try to take advantage of any opportunities that we have.
Great, thank you for that question, Philippa. Linda.
I just wanted to make mention of the new park that was a possibility at Fresno, and I just wanted to say that I really support Mr. James's proposition of putting the sidewalk and bike path up on that side of 43 so that the kids could safely get up, and maybe adults, up to that park. I also do see a lot of high school students walking down that in the morning when everyone used to go to school. And as I'd mentioned before, a lot of people use that to get to town to get their groceries at Apple Market. I've seen moms with strollers stuck in the dirt. So I really think that that would be a great opportunity if we could make it work. As far as the car share, I don't know if it's an option where we could possibly have two. I really think that where Mr. James had suggested it in that park is a central location. Richland has a program called Healthy Start that helps families, and I'm sure that they would like a car that they could possibly use to get to the store or get their children to maybe doctor's appointments in Bakersfield. It is a little bit of a walk for them, but that might not be too bad of an area to put it because it's centrally located between the Richland district. And then also there's some apartments off by an area by Capkay, and that's where the food drop comes for Shafter. So I don't believe a lot of them have a car, so that would be a second location area if it's possible. If not, it is a little bit of a walk, but they would be able to get to the rideshare car if it was centrally located in town. That was just my thought on it. Thank you very much. Oh, and then
maybe I'm sorry, maybe elaborate on what Linda touched on with the park project. If we could zoom in for the benefit of the committee and some of the public that are in the meeting here, if we could zoom in to the Highway 43 stretch, a little further north, closer to Fresno, right there. That vacant piece of property shown where English Lane, Sunny, and Clausen dead end. The city is actively developing a grant application to develop a new park on that parcel, about 5 acres in size. We conducted 5 public workshops within the last month or so to get community feedback on what park features they'd like to see. I think having a park, assuming we're successful with the grant, would make the Highway 43 corridor improvements that much more important. And I think it could almost guarantee that pedestrian and bike lane additions would get daily use by the community.
Thanks, Linda, for that suggestion. And this is type of the suggestions that we're encouraging committee members to share. You know, the community, what locations and what type of infrastructure makes sense. So we to reduce vehicle miles traveled and then encourage the car ride sharing, charging stations, walking, biking. Bianca and Gaz. Bianca, go ahead.
My question is, Is this going to be like an ongoing conversation between the steering committee and the city? And if so, would it be okay to do it offline? Maybe have a deeper conversation on where we could bring more suggestions in, even though we have shorter amount of time. I know that this meeting is like on point every minute, but I think it would be nice to have maybe just a long conversation, maybe with some steering committee members, some residents. And especially because there's some areas that are a little bit harder to get to, and car sharing. I think it's important. I know that some of the residents even here that are at the moment in the meeting have to travel out to car share and to Bakerfield down into town. And it would be nice to have it here closer to home, but having those secure spots would be perfect. And I don't know if you have any ideas of maybe the city actually having an ongoing conversation with the residents.
Thanks, Bianca, for your question. A lot of information is presented, a lot of different points and locations, and it sounds like what I'm hearing from you, it would be great to maybe sit down and discuss individual project a little bit more and different additions and suggestions to the project. Definitely noted. And what type of ongoing relationships can we have, and how will it look like is another question. And I don't know if Air District is ready to address it now or a little later.
Yeah, we're definitely open to that. You know, Mike, if you're open to that as well, we can look for times to schedule that. Bianca, are you thinking that this would be an invitation to a broader audience besides just the steering committee?
I think it would, but at the same time, having some of the steering committee be part of it, because I know that they're also some of the steering committees are also in the process of the SB 1000 that the city is doing at the moment, and they're in collaboration with the city. So and that could help out.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but I think some of the, like the suggestion that you had, some of that came out of those SB 1000 meetings with the EJ development portion of the general plan, and hearing some of the feedback and the comments from the participants. Is that right?
Well, Mr. Clausen with the planning department might be a better source of information on that. I'm kind of relatively new to this process, and with respect to ongoing meetings and more detailed meetings, I'm absolutely supportive of that. And I would, my whole mission tonight was just to introduce myself and let people know that they have a potential partner within the Public Works Department, at least, to to accomplish some of these objectives. And I would encourage routine discussions from this point forward, whether it's the monthly meetings here or more detailed meetings with maybe a subcommittee or people who are interested in having those detailed discussions.
And Mike, you mentioned that there's also a series of public workshops for all Shafter residents, and this is another opportunity for the committee members to attend those workshops and participate in those public outreach organized by the city. How do you notify residents about those workshops, and if there's additional invitation that can be forwarded to this committee to ensure that committee members are aware of these participation opportunities?
Well, we recently had a really positive, productive experience with the park grant, the Prop 68 park grant process that I just mentioned, that consisted of on-site. We targeted a specific site, so we had all of our in-person meetings at the site, and we we relied heavily on a local organization referred to as Listen to Shafter, that were literally the boots on the grounds, knocking on doors, distributing flyers, and promoting workshops when they were scheduled. But we had also had a pretty strong online presence for those who couldn't attend in-person events, they could at least participate in surveys and other means in which they can get their point across or stress what's important to them. So we have in-house staff as well as community nonprofits and local organizations that I think could be called upon to do something similar for this effort.
Thanks, Michael. And I see in the chat box that also the newsletter has been sent out about this opportunities. Gus, thank you for your patience. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael, for the overview. And just clarifying question, Wayne at the planning department, and then kind of like does the whole land use, their department does the whole land use, and then Public Works, are you guys the ones that actually go out and like shovel and pick and actually do the projects?
If it involves anything in the public right-of-way or a street, it involves Public Works. Okay. We have a fully staffed engineering department that makes sure that everything is designed per city standards and built per city standards. And then we also have the maintenance crews that are responsible for obviously maintenance work as well as repair work for streets, water, sewer lines, things like that.
Right on. Okay. Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I think, based on like the bubbles of the Serp that we had looked at, I think the rerouting has been a major issue for residents. FYI, I'm not a resident of Shafter. I've been working in Shafter for the past 5-6 years. I'm a resident of an unincorporated region here in Kern County. And very well aware of like Public Works and Roads Department at Kern County, and have been doing a lot of work with their kind of general plan. And gracefully, I think this process merging AB 617 and land use in environmental justice, the field my profession I'm in, environmental justice oftentimes are just like reactions of like placement, where neighborhoods are actually placed, where sources of pollution are adjacent to schools, etc. So I think thinking about this and exposing the residents to think about this is crucial. It's important. Oftentimes we're excluded from these conversations. So the fact that these two kind of bodies of work are merging, I greatly appreciate that. And I think Wayne has been an excellent partner in that. My question more or less is thinking of potentially rerouting like heavy trafficked roads where potential neighborhoods and schools are at. Has the city, like, other than getting feedback from residents, has the city gone out and actually mapped potential possible locations of where possible rerouting could happen? Thinking also and considering, not burdening another micro community or another smaller community from Chapter, right? So, like, has that been thought out? Is there potential routes that already exist? Or is this still like in the kind of imagination phase of that plan?
Well, that's a very well-timed question, because as Mr. Clausen can attest, there are active conversations and planning efforts underway to provide better traffic circulation for both existing communities as well as future communities and development within the city of Shafter. We're actually partnering with the city of Bakersfield, the county of Kern, and representatives of Caltrans to make sure that we're all actively planning the most affordable and responsible roadway improvements to improve traffic flow throughout the region. And in the city's case, the city of Shafter's case, it's extremely important that we try to, ensure that truck traffic is not conflicting with, with core city developments. That Lerdo Highway, frankly, wasn't necessarily sized or designed for the type of traffic that it's seeing. And so we're actively talking with master developers. I think a representative of one of them with a wonderful company is on this meeting right now. We just had a discussion this morning about prioritizing roadways that facilitate the goals of AB 617 and economic development and just overall better traffic circulation. So yes, I wouldn't say, I think we're beyond the imagining phase. I think we have the right people at the Bakersfield, the county, and Caltrans all having constructive conversations now. And so there'll be more to report in the coming months. We have the next phase of our discussions are going to really entail some pretty, hopefully some pretty precise designs and some routes that kind of are, kind of complement what we're trying to do and trying to fix some of the problems that we have. But, and I'd be happy, and I'm going to be a pretty active member in those discussions, along with the city engineer and the planning department. And I would be happy to report back to this committee on the discussions that we've had and the progress that we've made.
Thank you, Michael. So what I'm hearing from this conversation and exchange, this was an opportunity for Michael to introduce himself and introduce some of the projects, some of them being considered, some of them already have some grant funding, what is happening in the chapter. We also had, this committee also had an opportunity to share initial suggestions on locations, quick feedback on car sharing programs. What I'm also hearing from this committee, there's definitely a need for ongoing conversations and collaborations and coordination with the city, not only on biking and walking and road projects, but on truck rerouting projects. And Michael is saying that he's going to be part of the conversations on the city level, and he's happy to come back to this committee and share any updates. So basically, we'll have this conversation going. Some initial suggestions are in the chat box and on Michael's map from this community. And I think what we've learned from this agenda item, perhaps we will address 2 or 3 measures at a time so we can have deeper conversations about individual programs, but definitely thinking how can we link them all together, because at the end of the day, when it comes to walking, biking, transit, stations, all this infrastructure is connected. I want to circle I want to ask if we have any last questions for Michael on the Spanish line, and then I'm going to circle to Linda for her final comments on this agenda item.
I do notice, Hannah, that there is a comment that was put in the chat, and I can go ahead and just state it since we're here right now. Okay. She said, this is from Annabelle, and she said she apologizes, but she is worried about the idea of putting or doing some construction in the areas of Shafter and Central. And she said, because the reason being that that's going to take away some green zoning or green areas and some recreation in for that community. Why can't we look somewhere else so you're not taking areas from that community?
If we're referring about the park site, which I think we are, I wanted to point out that when the city council authorized the public works director to proceed with the project for the parking lot project, they made it very clear, the council members made it very clear that they wanted to retain visual curb appeal along the Lerdo and James Street sections of the parking lot. So they wanted to ensure that there was going to be streetscaping, trees, flower beds, things of that nature. So to ensure that the visual appeal of the park was not lost. But I appreciate the comment.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Annabelle. Linda.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Michael James of the City of Shafter for his time tonight and enlightening all of us on the great things that the city is doing. We don't always get to hear of all these wonderful projects, and I hope that we can all come together and work together with the Air Board to get some of these going. And for our community, I think it will be a really great opportunity. I like the car share idea. I think that's great. And maybe if, you know, I don't know how the Air Board feels about putting a subcommittee together like we did for the air filtration systems or the buses, but to maybe get together on maybe the best places that they think. So we have community input on where to put some of these ride shares. Michael pointed out some great opportunities in the city. And then we've also discussed a little bit about the bike path, and we've been enlightened on the new park that's going in and some other things. So I'm all for it. If other people on the committee would like to work together, I think it's a great opportunity for the residents of Shafter. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Linda. And thank you, Michael, for your time. And it looks like we're going to be seeing you more often in these meetings. Okay. A perfect segue to another Serp measures. Folks, we have a lot of Serp measures, a lot of wheels are in motions. We're putting a lot of things on your radar. So that's the point of this meetings. Let's do a quick update on another measure, which is low dust harvesting equipment and alternatives to agricultural burning, another important measure to this committee. And we will just do a quick update, take 1 or 2 questions for Todd, and move on to the progress update and wrap up.
Good evening, everybody. I will certainly keep this brief and get us back on track in terms of time. So just a quick update on 2 ag-related measures, our alternatives to ag burn measure and the low dust harvester incentive program measure. We took an item to our board in November to approve the low dust harvester incentive program measure. It was actually a dual purpose board item. We got authorization to open our district-wide program with some additional funding. And then we also took the enhancements that were included in the Serp for the Shafter area, which include, so there was, I believe it was $2.5 million in dedicated funding for the Shafter area for this program. And just to back up for just a second, the low dust harvester program provides incentives to replace traditional harvesting equipment with low dust harvesting equipment. There's a whole new version of harvesting equipment out there that really focuses on decreasing the dust, and we've seen particulate reductions between 40 and 80% depending on the type of equipment that's used. So there's a significant amount of dust reduction during that harvest period in the early fall. And so this program, whereas our normal district-wide program pays up to 50% of the cost of new equipment, this program for Shafter in the Shafter area pays up to 75% of the cost of equipment. So there's some enhanced funding for that program. What we're going to be doing in terms of some direct outreach for this program is we've been talking with the Almond Board, and they are actually going to get us a specific list of growers who operate in the area, and including some custom harvesters so that we can directly outreach to those landowners and to those custom harvesters and see if we can get them to take advantage of the program. And so we're going to be ramping up that program. Now, we did have to go, because this was not a traditional program that was included in the Air Resources Board guidelines, we did have to go to the Air Resources Board and seek approval, which we did. We're still waiting on the final approval. So essentially, now that we've got the Air District Board's approval, as soon as we get CARB's approval, we can basically open this program up. So all the documentation, all the applications and website changes are ready to go. So this is going to be opening up probably within the next couple of weeks. So we'll have some action going on in terms of equipment being replaced in the Shafter area. The second item was the Alternatives to Ag Burn program. Now, this is a program where instead of burning agricultural material, we'll provide an incentive to the grower to chip and reincorporate that material into the soil. We provide up to $600 per acre to do that. And so there was $1 million set aside for funding in the Shafter Serp. And so again, we're going to be directly outreaching to those agricultural businesses and farmers that are in this area and make sure that they have a deep understanding of the program. And this is dedicated funding, so they would go to the front of the line. This is a heavily impacted program district-wide, but this money is specific to the Shafter area, so they won't be waiting in the queue with other projects from around the valley. They will have their own dedicated funding available. We think the $1 million is about enough to incorporate about 2,000 acres worth of material. So it's a good amount of funding and a good amount of acreage that we can reduce that agricultural burning. I also did want to just briefly mention that we are taking this month to our board the final approval that's necessary to operate the commercial and the residential lawn and garden equipment replacement programs, the Clean Green Yard Machine for both residential and commercial. We're going to be taking that to our board this Thursday, and once that's approved, those project plans have already been approved by CARB. So those programs can then open up within the next several weeks, maybe by early in January. I think we could have those on the street and up and running. And those are for the residential side. It's replacing a gas-powered lawnmower with an electric-powered lawnmower with an increased incentive. Our normal incentive program for the district pays up to $250. The program in Shafter will pay up to $500. The commercial side is again for replacing traditional gas-powered equipment, ride-on lawnmowers, heavy-duty commercial grade lawnmowers with zero emission lawn and garden equipment. So I know that was a lot of information in a short time, but if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Great, thanks, Todd. A lot of wheels in motions. Programs are already approved by CARB, going to the district's board and ready to be implemented in January. Bianca and Gus, I see your hands, but I want to circle to our community co-host for quick comments or questions, and then I'm going to circle to you guys.
Hi, Todd. I just wanted to thank you for going above and beyond and asking CARB for additional funding for the low dust net harvesters. As a yearly sinus infection person, I really appreciate your work. I really hope that we can get these great incentives out to our ag community through maybe our Shafter Chamber of Commerce. And I also noticed in one of our members here today, I think is the Kern County Farm Bureau. Maybe they can assist as well, and the Ag Commissioner. And we were mentioning the commercial gardening equipment. I believe that the city might have the list of people that come into the city, and maybe we can work with the city on getting them the information. I don't know if it would be through code enforcement or public works, that there are incentives for Shafter going forward. So thank you very much.
No, and thank you, Linda. You bring up a great point, which is something that I meant to cover is we need your help in outreaching in all these programs. Whatever you guys can do, you know the area, you know the players, you know the people to talk to. So for any of these programs, please let us know if there are specific organizations we need to be talking to. Love the ideas, Linda, Farm Bureau, and others will definitely reach out to. But if you have ideas on specific entities that you'd like us to contact and make aware of these programs, please let us know.
So as Michael had mentioned, that we do have some different groups throughout Shafter. There's Listen to Shafter, there's Task Force, there's different things. I'm happy to share information I have, and we'll get the information out. The city actually has a really great social media presence with information too that is shared, and then the different clubs will share that too. So more than happy to help get these great incentives out to our residents. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. So if you can think of any specific organizations, please drop them in the chat box. I do want to do a quick time check. We're at 7:01 and we still have a quick update on the enforcement progress report from the district. Bianca and Gus, I wonder if you guys can ask questions and then see if Todd can combine answers to your questions so we can save some time. Does that sound like a plan? Bianca, what was your question for Todd?
I do have a question because on the nut harvesters, I do remember when you mentioned in the board that you're gonna pay 75% of the nut harvesters. Is it gonna be the same as the electric ones? Or how would it happen? Do they have to give up? I know that it's like the tune in, tune up. You get rid of your car and you get the electric lawnmower. Can some of these folks maybe they don't even have a lawnmower, it would be a first purchase, do they also qualify for the 500 that you mentioned? Or how would the program be?
For lawnmowers specifically, we do offer an incentive for people that are not getting rid of an old lawnmower. It's significantly less. It's actually $50 for those that don't have a lawnmower at all. The idea is that we want to get rid of these old, really high polluting lawnmowers. But we did recognize that, you know, there are people that are just starting out and looking to, you know, purchase a new mower. So we do offer an incentive, although it is significantly less than the replacement cost.
And would you send the application for like the Shafter for like the steering committee for them to see first, or is it going to be placed on the website for them?
Yeah, we're going to outreach it in a variety of ways. It will definitely be on, it'll be on our website. I imagine, and I haven't talked with Jamie about this, but I imagine we could put all of these specific programs on the individual community web pages on our website as well. So they'll all be in one place. Anything that a Shafter resident can take advantage of will be all in one location.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bianca. Always excellent clarifying questions. I love it. Gus, thank you so much for dropping your question in the chat box and for the sake of time. And Todd, thank you for your update. Okay, we're 7:03. Let's jump to the annual enforcement report, and Ryan will share the timeline when this committee can expect to see the report in English and in Spanish.
Yeah, thanks, Hannah. I definitely want to apologize. We fully intended to have the enforcement report out to everybody today, similar to what was in the Serp when we brought that to the committee. However, when we got it, we did notice that it wasn't, what we gave you to the committee last time was not translated. And so we definitely want to make sure that everything that we're providing to the committee comes both in English and in Spanish. And there's quite a bit of information that's in the document. And so it's just, it's taking some additional time to translate. So what we're planning to do is have the fully translated documents to the committee by next meeting. Then we can have a discussion on the enforcement that's taking place. The other key part of this is, despite COVID-19, you know, the district's field staff is still continuing to perform inspections of facilities. We're still responding to complaints. Hopefully the residents have seen the district staff driving through Shafter, whether it's idling truck enforcement enhancements, or it's our fireplace surveillance, making sure that people are complying with the requirement not to use their fireplaces on certain days. Hopefully you're seeing that present, because we're spending a lot of time in the community doing that enhanced enforcement. So that's still taking place. And so we want to definitely share that enforcement update with the committee. But like we said, we want to make sure that when we do that in a manner that respects all of our members of the steering committee. So sorry for the delay. We apologize.
Thanks, Ryan. A lot of communication information and reports are coming from you, from the Air District and from the Department of Pesticide Regulation, sounds like from this meeting. Okay, we're a little bit over time. I do apologize for that, but we did have a good dialogue, conversations, clarifying questions, what else this committee needs to do to move the SERP forward tonight. I hope you have the same feeling. I'm gonna circle back first to Heather for any public comments, questions on the Facebook. And members of the public, if you have any questions or comments on the Zoom call, please raise your hand.
We do not.
Okay. Heather.
It's Martha's birthday.
It's
Yay!
Martha's birthday.
And she wanted to share a short video if we have time.
Okay. Who's sharing the video? Martha?
I think Martha.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Hi, Martha.
Hi. I'm gonna have to show you guys the video like on my phone. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see it because I don't know how to share it. Okay, give me just 1 second. I'm gonna have to. You guys are gonna have to tell me if you guys can see it or not right now.
Martha, you might have to
Right
email it to one of us.
Email it?
And we can screen share and show it.
Do you think you guys can see it right there?
Yeah, it's pretty hard to see, Martha. Maybe what you can do is you can email it to us. And
Can you guys see it?
No, not really.
Martha, is that your personal video or it's a link you can share in the chat box?
Oh, you know what? It's the wrong video. hold on, you guys. Hold on. Is it this one? Oh, it is this one.
Oh, Martha is a birthday girl, everyone, so we have to stay a little longer.
Hi, my name is Martha. I live down the street on Lahannison. I was wondering, is it okay if I can drop this off too? Not selling nothing. It's just burning. If you need help with solar, anything here in Shafter, I'm trying to help the residents here, and everything like, or any ideas that you have that can help the air quality. Is that okay?
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Get back then.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right.
Have a good day.
Cool. Were you guys able to hear that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Martha, thank you so much for being a passionate member of the community. You definitely inspire us.
We're not done though.
Oh, thanks, Jamie, for a reminder.
We have to do something very special, and that's sing happy birthday to Martha. So unmute yourself, everybody. You know I like to do this fast. So unmute yourself. Let's get ready. 5, 6, 7, 8. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Martha.
Happy birthday to you.
Perfectly synchronized.
That's how this committee roll. Linda, a couple closing thoughts before we adjourn this meeting.
I just wanted to thank everyone for their
I
time
can't hear
tonight.
you guys.
It's been a long haul for a lot of us, and I really appreciate all the effort this Valley staff has made to keep us all together and to keep us all going through the Zoom. I know it hasn't been easy on anyone, and I just wanted to wish everyone a very happy holiday. Please stay safe and please stay healthy. So thank you very much for everything.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays, everyone. We will see you next year to keep the progress moving forward. Keep up the good work, and this meeting is officially adjourned.
Bye, everyone. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Bye.
Are you guys able to hear me? I can't hear you guys.
Now we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, Martha.
I can't hear you guys at all. I can hear from Doña Felipa's phone, but I can't hear you guys at all.
Wait, is your volume all the way down? Sometimes it happens. Let me put it.
I can't hear you guys. What did I do?
Volume.
Boy, Hannah, you've experienced everything there is.
I truly am. I feel like
try that.
I feel like we're still learning all the in and outs of Zooms. There's always something, always.
There's so many.
Let's go ahead and pause the Facebook
Oh, yes,
Live
thank you,
and
Kim.
stop recording.
She's on it. I see it.